Welcome back to my channel. Silence is not empty, it's full of answers. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you just stopped explaining yourself, stopped chasing, stopped calling, stopped trying to prove your worth to someone who walked away? Like it was easy. My friends, let me tell you something real. They will come back 100% if you do this, and no, it's not a trick. It's not a game. It's power. Real grounded. Emotional power. Before we dive deep into what actually works, go ahead and press that like button and subscribe right now. Because what I'm about to share with you most people never figure out, and they stay stuck. But not you. You're waking up today. Hey folks, imagine this. You're a campfire, burning bright, warm alive. They used to sit around you, enjoy your heat, laugh in your light, but over time they started backing away. Not suddenly, but little by little. A skipped call here, a cold text, there, and then. One day, they're gone, and you're still burning, thinking maybe if you blaze hotter, if you burn brighter, they'll come back. But guess what? That fire doesn't make them return. Your silence, does your disappearance, does you becoming smoke untouchable, intangible, untraceable is what makes them turn around and say, where did they go? You see, the biggest lie you've been fed is that you need to prove your worth, that you need to beg for love, that if you just say the right thing, they'll see your value and come back running. But love doesn't respond to begging. Respect isn't earned through tears and worth, isn't proven through pursuit. What actually works, what really turns heads and hearts, is becoming so deeply rooted in your self-respect that your absence becomes louder than any message you could ever send. Let me hit you with another truth. People don't remember the one who kept chasing. They remember the one who walked away without a sound. That's the mystery. That's the power when you disappear, not out of spite, but out of strength. They start questioning everything they feel it in places they didn't expect, in their chest, in their gut, in their silence. And suddenly your absence isn't just missing, it's haunting. And here's where the fun starts, because while they're out there trying to figure out where you went, you're building, you're upgrading, you're glowing up in ways they never saw coming. You're not sitting there crying over someone who couldn't see your value. You're becoming someone they can't even reach anymore. They will check your page. They will scroll through old text. They'll think about those nights you stayed up just to hear about their problems and realize you don't do that anymore. And it stings, not because you punished them, but because you healed. Listen, folks, this isn't about revenge. It's about rising. It's about letting them feel the storm they created by leaving a calm soul behind. You're not doing this to get them back. You're doing this to get you back. And if they come back, that's just a bonus. The real win is that now you get to decide if they're even worth stepping into your peace again. So let's get one thing straight. They will come back, but not to the old. They'll come back looking for someone who no longer exists. You'll be walking taller, smiling, wider, laughing, louder, and maybe you won't even care. And that's the most powerful place to be. Drop this in the comments right now. I choose power. Let the world see that you're no longer the one who waits. You're the one who walks. And while you're at it, press that like button and hit subscribe, because what's coming next will shift your entire mindset. Stay with me. Number 1. Vanish. Like you never existed. When you become unavailable, you become unforgettable. Let's not sugarcoat this, my friends. If you want them to come back, if you want to shift the power flip, the entire emotional game, you must vanish. Not halfway, not with breadcrumbs, but completely, like you never existed. That's right. The first move isn't a message. It's not explaining yourself. It's not giving them a reason to miss you. It's silence, full disappearance, a cold void where your warmth used to be. And trust me, it'll echo louder than any words you could scream. Picture this. You were once the sun in their sky. You rose every day. Never solve, because if you can, they will come back not out of pity, not out of curiosity, but out of need, out of realization, out of hunger for something they once disrespected and now can't replace. Say it out loud and drop it in the comments right now. I am the silence they'll never forget. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you're done chasing people who never saw your light until it went out. Number 2, reprogram your energy. They will feel the shift. You don't have to say a word for them to feel. You've moved on. You disappeared. You went silent. You vanished like a ghost in the night, and now the energy begins to shift. But this next phase, my friends, isn't just about being gone. It's about who you're becoming in that silence. It's about what they feel, not see, not hear, but feel in your absence. Because energy doesn't lie, and when your frequency changes, the entire dynamic changes with it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and felt tension without anyone speaking, that thick, invisible weight in the air? That's energy, pure, raw, unspoken energy. It can't be faked, and it can't be denied. Now imagine this, if a room can hold that kind of weight from a stranger's emotions. What do you think happens when you shift your entire emotional state after pulling away from someone who once had access to your spirit? They feel it, and they feel it deep. Most people think they need closure, a final text, a grand goodbye. But that's not power. That's noise. Real power is silence with purpose. Real power is when you no longer carry their name in your heart, even when you carry their memory in your mind, and when your inner energy changes, when you no longer ache, beg, or fantasize. They feel it in their soul, like a door has slammed shut with no key. Left behind, let's be honest. At first, you were probably leaking energy like a faucet, thinking about them all day, stalking their page, replaying old messages like they were some sacred scripture, wasting your sacred mental real estate on someone who chose to walk out, like it was nothing, that version of you that was a frequency they were comfortable with. They felt your attention even when you weren't talking. They felt your neediness, even when you weren't texting. And that made them feel powerful. But now you're cutting the signal. You're unplugging the connection, you're shifting from obsession to observation. And that, my friends, is terrifying for them, because when your energy detaches, their security collapses. You want to know why, because you were their emotional battery, their backup charger, their safety net. And when that energy goes dark, they start to panic. They start to wonder. They start to feel something they never expected to feel from you. Nothing that's not hate, that's not anger, that's indifference. And indifference is the most powerful energy you can ever emit. Think of it. Like a radio for so long, your station was always tuned to them. Every signal, every vibration, every silent thought, playing love songs they didn't appreciate. But now you're tuning to a new frequency. You're no longer broadcasting sadness. You're no longer transmitting hope. You're done sending emotional updates to someone who stopped listening. Instead, you're reprogramming your signal. And here's how that looks. You wake up and think of your goals before you think of them. You invest in your body, your mind, your peace. You start surrounding yourself with people who pour into you, not drain you. You redirect every thought that wanders toward the past and force it to build your future. And slowly, almost magically, they begin to feel that disconnection. Because when the energy changes, everything changes. This isn't just some cosmic nonsense. This is biology. This is vibration. Human beings are energetic creatures and relationships are nothing but spiritual entanglements. And when you pull your energy out of someone's aura, they feel cold, lost, unfed, and they start craving the warmth they used to ignore. But this is the part where most people fall. They go silent, but their energy is still clinging, still checking, still hoping, and... Welcome back to my channel. Silence is not empty, it's full of answers. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you just stopped explaining yourself, stopped chasing, stopped calling, stopped trying to prove your worth to someone who walked away? Like it was easy. My friends, let me tell you something real. They will come back 100% if you do this, and no, it's not a trick. It's not a game. It's power. Real grounded. Emotional power. Before we dive deep into what actually works, go ahead and press that like button and subscribe right now. Because what I'm about to share with you most people never figure out, and they stay stuck. But not you. You're waking up today. Hey folks, imagine this. You're a campfire, burning bright, warm alive. They used to sit around you, enjoy your heat, laugh in your light, but over time they started backing away. Not suddenly, but little by little. A skipped call here, a cold text, there, and then. One day, they're gone, and you're still burning, thinking maybe if you blaze hotter, if you burn brighter, they'll come back. But guess what? That fire doesn't make them return. Your silence, does your disappearance, does you becoming smoke untouchable, intangible, untraceable is what makes them turn around and say, where did they go? You see, the biggest lie you've been fed is that you need to prove your worth, that you need to beg for love, that if you just say the right thing, they'll see your value and come back running. But love doesn't respond to begging. Respect isn't earned through tears and worth, isn't proven through pursuit. What actually works, what really turns heads and hearts is becoming so deeply rooted in your self-respect that your absence becomes louder than any message you could ever send. Let me hit you with another truth. People don't remember the one who kept chasing. They remember the one who walked away without a sound. That's the mystery. That's the power when you disappear, not out of spite, but out of strength. They start questioning everything they feel it in places they didn't expect in their chest, in their gut, in their silence. And suddenly your absence isn't just missing, it's haunting. And here's where the fun starts, because while they're out there trying to figure out where you went, you're building, you're upgrading, you're glowing up in ways they never saw coming. You're not sitting there crying over someone who couldn't see your value. You're becoming someone they can't even reach anymore. They will check your page, they will scroll through old text, they'll think about those nights you stayed up just to hear about their problems and realize you don't do that anymore. And it stings, not because you punished them, but because you healed. Listen, folks, this isn't about revenge, it's about rising. It's about letting them feel the storm they created by leaving a calm soul behind. You're not doing this to get them back. You're doing this to get you back. And if they come back, that's just a bonus. The real win is that now you get to decide if they're even worth stepping into your peace again. So let's get one thing straight. They will come back, but not to the old. They'll come back looking for someone who no longer exists. You'll be walking taller, smiling, wider, laughing, louder, and maybe you won't even care. And that's the most powerful place to be. Drop this in the comments right now. I choose power. Let the world see that you're no longer the one who waits. You're the one who walks. And while you're at it, press that like button and hit subscribe, because what's coming next will shift your entire mindset. Stay with me. Number 1. Vanish. Like you never existed. When you become unavailable, you become unforgettable. Let's not sugarcoat this, my friends. If you want them to come back, if you want to shift the power flip, the entire emotional game, you must vanish. Not halfway, not with breadcrumbs, but completely, like you never existed. That's right. The first move isn't a message. It's not explaining yourself. It's not giving them a reason to miss you. It's silence, full disappearance, a cold void where your warmth used to be. And trust me, it'll echo louder than any words you could scream. Picture this. You were once the sun in their sky. You rose every day. That's why it doesn't work, because you can't just go no contact on the outside. You have to go no contact within. You have to say, I release you from my thoughts. I release you from my energy. I release you from the illusion that I need you to be whole. Because you never did. You just forgot who you were. You forgot your light, and now it's time to stop waiting for them to come back and start becoming someone who doesn't care if they do. Don't fake it. Live it the moment you stop reacting. Stop hoping. Stop energetically begging. They'll feel it, even if they never tell you, even if they try to pretend like they're fine. Trust me, they feel it. They'll think about you at night randomly. They'll wonder why they feel anxious when they see your name but don't hear from you. They'll wonder if they were wrong, if they waited too long, and that wondering becomes a storm, all because you reprogrammed your energy. Let me give you a visual picture. A flame, if you feed it, it burns. If you starve it, it flickers, then dies their ego. That flame was burning because you kept feeding it your attention. But now you're done. Now you're feeding yourself. And that ego flame, it starts dying. And in that darkness they realize something. The fire was never theirs. It was yours. And they never owned it. They only stood close enough to feel warm. But now you've moved the fire, and they are freezing. So here's your reminder. In case no one told you lately, you are energy, you are power. And the moment you reclaim that energy from places that no longer deserve it, you become magnetic again. But this time, from a place of choice. Not desperation. Say this with me and drop it in the comments. I reclaim my energy. Say it out loud. Let it echo in your room, in your chest, in your soul. You are not their backup plan. You are not their second chance. You are a new vibration, a frequency. They can't reach unless they rise to meet it. You don't chase anymore, you attract. You don't wait. You elevate. You don't explain. You evolve. And guess what? The moment they feel that the chase begins. But by then you won't be sure if you even want to be caught. Stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 3, rebuild yourself in absolute silence. Sometimes the best revenge is simply becoming everything they said you'd never be. You've gone silent. You've pulled away, and now there's nothing left for them to see. Or so they think. But what they don't know is that in your silence you're not crumbling. You're not waiting. You're not even hoping you're rebuilding brick by brick in the dark without applause, without validation, without them. And that's what they never expected. See, most people think silence means suffering. That you're lying in bed, broken scrolling, crying. They picture you missing them, replaying memories falling apart. That's the story their ego tells them, because it makes them feel powerful. It keeps them in control. They think they left you stuck at the same emotional checkpoint where they abandoned you. But what if I told you silence is where warriors are forged? Imagine a blacksmith in a dark room, no audience, no cheers, just fire, sweat, and steel. He hammers the blade in the shadows, shaping it, sharpening it, polishing every edge. No one sees the process, only the result that's you. Now you're the weapon being reborn in silence. You're the future they won't recognize, because while they're out there performing, posting, partying, pretending you're in the lab, in the gym, in your books, in your thoughts, training, becoming. And my friend, when that transformation finally reveals itself, They won't know how to handle it. Here's the truth. They'll never admit. They expected you to need them. They thought walking away would break you. They thought you'd stay stuck on pause, reaching, waiting, spiraling, but instead you did the unthinkable. You made the silence your sanctuary. You made your pain your power. And let's be honest, it wasn't easy the first few nights without their voice. It hurt, that hollow ache in your chest. Real, the moments when you almost messaged them, you felt that pull. That urge to remind them you exist, to remind them that you cared, to remind them they meant something but you didn't. You held the line because something inside you whispered, "Don't chase what walked away, build something it can never reach again." So now you're building, and I'm not just talking about muscles or money. I'm talking about your mind, your identity, your peace, your purpose, because you don't just want to look better. You want to be better, the kind of better that glows from your eyes and makes them wonder what happened to them. Let's talk about the glow up they never saw coming. First, the physical. Not for vanity, for discipline, for self-respect. You start treating your body like a temple, not a trash can. You start moving differently, dressing with intention, showing up with posture that says, "I don't need attention, I command it." But deeper than that, the mental glow up, the mindset shift. That's where the real transformation lives. You start feeding your brain, not your dopamine. You cut the noise, you learn, read, meditate, reflect. You stop chasing external validation and start chasing internal excellence. And guess what happens? You stop asking, "Do they miss me?" and start asking, "Do I even want them anymore?" You stop checking their stories and start checking your goals. You stop analyzing their behavior and start analyzing your patterns. You don't just silence them. You silence the old version of you that tolerated things that should have never been accepted in the first place. And little by little, day by day, something inside you starts to shift that broken heart. It starts to beat stronger. That self-doubt, it starts to disappear. And what takes its place is a quiet, unshakable confidence that doesn't need to be posted, proven, or explained. You see, silence is misunderstood. People think it's the absence of sound, but silence, real silence, is the presence of power. It's where you hear yourself again, where you stop being distracted by their chaos, where you stop performing for people who were never clapping. Silence is the soil where your next level grows, but this is where most people sabotage it. They're silent for a few days, maybe a week, then they relapse. They reach out, they check in, they stalk the page. They let the old energy leak back into their new life, and just like that, all the growth crumbles, not you. You're done breaking your own silence to get their attention. You're not disappearing to be missed. You're disappearing to evolve. And let me be clear, this isn't about revenge. This isn't about making them jealous. This is about walking so far in the direction of your growth that by the time they turn around, you're no longer even on their map. That's the level. That's the goal. Because one day they will think about you. They'll have a moment. Maybe they'll hear your favorite song. Maybe they'll see someone who looks like you. Maybe they'll just wake up one day and feel that strange emptiness where your energy used to be, and they'll check, they'll search, they'll scroll, and what they'll find is a version of you that they don't recognize. Someone refined, sharper, stronger, unreachable. And suddenly the fantasy they had of you being stuck, still waiting, still broken, it shatters. They'll realize they didn't just lose a person, they lost a future they no longer have access to. And that realization, that's the consequence of underestimating someone who chose silence over desperation, of walking away from someone who used heartbreak as fuel, of leaving someone who decided to rebuild instead of react. So today, if you're feeling the weight of silence, lean into it, trust it, let it mold you. Let it strip away every part of you that once settled for crumbs. Let it sculpt a future that doesn't just look good, but feels right, one that doesn't depend on their presence to feel whole. Say this out loud and drop it in the comments right now. I am rebuilding in silence. Let it be your reminder, your vow, your declaration that from this day forward, you are no longer the version of yourself they knew. You're becoming someone they'll never deserve again. Stay with me. We're not done yet. The next step will teach you how to turn this silent strength into something even more dangerous. Emotional detachment, that's when the game really changes. Number 4. Let them sit in their own silence. Don't chase them with your words. Let the silence do what your voice never could. So now you're quiet. You've stopped explaining. You've stopped showing up. You've stopped giving them the version of you who always cared more. And for the first time, they're left alone with the one thing they've avoided the entire time: their own silence. No distractions, no reassurance, no emotional safety net, just them and the void you left behind. And that silence, it's not empty, it's deafening. Let me tell you something real. Silence isn't the absence of love, it's the consequence of disrespect. You didn't go quiet because you stopped caring. You went quiet because they stopped listening, because they stopped showing up, because they took your presence for granted and expected you to keep pouring without being poured into. But now the tables have turned. Now they get to feel the echo of their own decisions. Picture this: a room once filled with your laughter, your warmth, your emotional availability. Now it's cold, still hollow. They try to fill it with noise. They scroll. They text other people. They post pictures that scream, "I'm fine," louder than they feel. But behind all of that is silence, and that silence has your name written all over it. They start hearing you in the quiet, in the spaces where your voice used to be, in the times when they expect you to call, to check in, to forgive, but you don't. And that's when something terrifying happens for them. They start to feel the weight of their own choices. See, when you were there, they never had to face themselves. You were the distraction, the emotional mirror, the comfort zone. Every time they felt empty, they could lean on your energy, your effort, your consistency. But now you've removed that crutch. Now, they're forced to face the mirror without your reflection. And it's a mirror they were never ready to look into, because now they're asking themselves questions they used to avoid. Did I mess this up? Why aren't they chasing me? Are they really done? These questions start as whispers, but over time the silence amplifies them, and when there are no distractions left, that's when realization hits. But don't confuse this realization with regret. Not yet. Regret comes later. What they're feeling now is disorientation, because they assumed you'd always be there. They thought you'd fold. Eventually, they believed their distance was power, but now your silence becomes the louder voice in the room. And here's where it gets interesting. They don't know how to interpret it because you're not playing the role they cast you in. You're not reacting. You're not breaking. You're not reminding them. You care. You're just gone. Not spiteful, not bitter, just gone. That absence is magnetic. Not because you're trying to manipulate them, but because human psychology doesn't know how to handle indifference. We're wired to react to loss, to pursue the unknown. And right now, you are the unknown. You're not giving them a narrative. You're not feeding their ego. And that mystery, it starts to drive them insane. But here's the beauty of it. You're not doing anything. You're just letting them sit in their own silence, letting them feel the emptiness they once ignored. And it's in that stillness that they begin to understand what you meant to them. Not because you told them, but because they feel it. Most people rush to fill the silence. They break no contact because the void gets too loud. They send the text. They post the quote. They try to check in just to see if they still matter, But every time you do that, you take away the pressure they're supposed to feel. You give them oxygen and they breathe easy. Don't do that. Let them suffocate. Let them sit in their own mess. Let them replay the last conversation. Let them scroll through old messages, wondering why your name hasn't lit up their screen. Let them feel what it's like to not be forgiven immediately. Let them know what it's like to lose someone who actually showed up. That's not cruelty. That's accountability. That's emotional justice. And let's be clear, this isn't just about them. This is about you, because silence doesn't just punish it. Heals. It gives you space to think clearly, to detach, to grow. It gives you perspective. It lets you zoom out and see the truth. They never had control. You just handed it to them, but not anymore. Now your silence is your boundary, your self-respect, your line in the sand. And here's what you'll notice. They'll start reaching out indirectly, watching your stories, liking your posts, asking mutual friends about you, testing the waters with innocent messages. But don't mistake curiosity for commitment. Let them wonder. Let them wrestle with the reality that you're no longer available for half-effort and breadcrumbs. This is your power. Now, your silence is your proof that you've outgrown the version of yourself that begged to be chosen, that chased, that tried to prove worth to someone who couldn't even match your effort. You're not that person anymore. You're someone who understands that the loudest declarations don't come from words. They come from actions, or the lack thereof. You're not waiting anymore. You're not hoping. You're not clinging. You're becoming. And if they want to be part of that new reality, they're going to have to do something they've never done before. Earn it with consistency, with clarity, with real presence. Not comfort zone, check-ins, or guilt texts, but actual effort. But that comes later right now. You let the silence work. You let them feel it. You let it echo. Because nothing teaches faster than the emptiness of a presence they used to ignore. Say this out loud and drop it in the comments right now. They can sit in the silence not because you're bitter, but because you've leveled up, you've reclaimed your voice by using none at all. And the best part, while they're trying to figure out if you still care, you're evolving into someone who doesn't need the answer. Stay with me, because in the next step, we're not just being silent. We're going to control the entire story without saying a single word. That's when things get dangerous for them. Number 5, control the narrative without saying a word. Disappear from the drama and let your silence write the story. You're gone. Now silent, absent, emotionally unplugged, and from the outside, it looks like you vanished, like you simply moved on. But here's what most people don't understand: when you go silent, you don't disappear from the story. You take control of it. Not through words, not through explanations, but through the most powerful force in human psychology, curiosity. Because now they don't know what you're doing. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know if you're hurt or healed, and that not knowing that space, that vacuum. It drives them mad. You see, my friends, humans crave closure like a drug. We crave answers. We crave understanding. And when someone doesn't give us that, when they leave without a final chapter, without a satisfying conclusion, our mind starts to write its own version over and over again until it spirals into obsession. That's the power of silence. It's not just absence. It's unanswered questions. It's the way you leave things open-ended. It's how you walk away without justifying your departure. You don't text, "I'm done." You don't post, "I'm healing." You just vanish, calm, collected, cold, and that silence leaves behind a trail of what-ifs. What if you met someone new? What if you finally realized your worth? What if you don't want them anymore? What if they were never that important to you in the first place? Let me hit you with a metaphor. Imagine a movie that ends mid-scene. No resolution, no credits, Just black screen. What do? You don't move on. You sit there confused, curious, obsessing over what it meant, trying to figure out what you missed. That's what your silence does. It turns you into an unsolved mystery, and people chase mysteries. They don't chase conclusions. Now, here's where the real shift happens. They thought they were the one who ended the story. They thought they got the last word, but your silence took that pen out of their hand. You're not explaining yourself, you're not defending yourself, and now you've hijacked the narrative because when people don't hear from you, they start hearing about you. They'll start checking your social media. They'll look at your mutual friends. They'll replay your last words. They'll try to put pieces together that don't exist. And every time they do, they build a version of you that's stronger than who you were when they left. Because mystery breeds power, and power breeds attraction. But here's where most people mess it up. They try to manipulate the silence, they post too much, they throw shade, they drop hints, they try to control the story by telling it indirectly. But when you do that, you don't look powerful, you look desperate. So here's the rule: don't perform transformation. You don't need to post cryptic captions. You don't need to pretend you're happy. You don't need to prove anything. You need to live genuinely, quietly, intentionally. Let your life speak without a word. Let your evolution be the plot twist they never saw coming. And trust me, they will hear about it. They will see it in the eyes of people who talk to you in the glow. You didn't advertise in the strength that doesn't need applause. People feel your power when you stop broadcasting your pain. You want to really mess with their mind. Don't block them. Don't delete them. Let them watch. Let them sit in the theater of your silence waiting for the scene to play that never comes. And while they're sitting there, you're out building something they can't touch. This isn't about getting revenge. This is about reversing the energy. Because up until now, they've been in control of the story. They dictated the timeline, the tone, the ending. But now you're the narrator. Now you decide what happens next. Let's get real. Silence doesn't just change how they see you. It changes how you see yourself. You stop needing to be understood. You stop needing to explain. You stop needing someone to validate your hurt. And when you reach that place, that's when you're untouchable, because someone who doesn't seek external closure is someone who can't be manipulated again. And here's the paradox. The more they wonder what you're doing, the more they wish they were a part of it. The more they don't know how you feel, the more they want to feel wanted by you. That's not a game. That's a psychology mystery. Forces people to project their own guilt, their own insecurity, their own fantasy onto your silence, and when they do that, you live in their head rentrée, not because you're clinging, but because you let go so hard that it shook their illusion of control. Let's break another lie while we're here. If I don't explain myself, they won't understand. Good. Let them not understand. Let them stew in their confusion. Because if someone needed your pain, explain to them to care. They never cared to begin with. Your silence is not about being misunderstood. It's about being unavailable. Unavailable to disrespect. Unavailable to games. Unavailable to people who couldn't appreciate you when you were all in. So today, if you're tempted to break the silence, don't let the silence breathe. Let it speak for you. Let it twist the story until they're begging for a sequel. They don't have the privilege to read. Say this out loud and drop it in the comments right now. My silence tells the story, not because you're hiding, but because you've outgrown the need to be heard by people who never listened. Show them that your absence isn't punishment. It's evolution. It's the plot twist no one predicted. And the best part, you're just getting started. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, we're about to go even deeper into the paradox that breaks every illusion. The moment you stop caring is the exact moment they start chasing number 6. The paradox of attraction. Stop caring. They start chasing the moment you no longer need them is the moment they need you the most. Let's break the lie wide open. i.e., you never needed to care more to be loved. More, you never needed to prove your value by being the one who stays, who gives, who sacrifices everything for someone who never even met you. Halfway, you thought that if you just showed them how much you cared, they'd finally choose you. You thought your love would make them stay. But my friends, it doesn't work like that because here's the twisted truth. The more you care, the more they pull away. The more you overgive, the less they value it. The more available you are, the less mystery you hold. And mystery, my friends, is the heartbeat of desire. Let's paint a picture. You're standing in a desert with a glass of water. They're thirsty at first, so you offer it. They drink, but then you keep offering every moment, every hour. You don't even wait to see if they're thirsty anymore, you just keep giving. You flood them, and suddenly they don't want it. Not because the water isn't valuable, but because it was too available, too easy, too constant. That's how attraction works. People don't crave what they already have too much of. They don't chase what's standing still, waving its arms, begging to be seen. They chase what's moving, what's unknown, what feels just out of reach. That's what wakes up the primal instinct. That's what sparks curiosity, respect, and pursuit. But when you care too loudly, when you show too much interest, when you revolve your entire emotional universe around someone who hasn't earned it, you don't inspire love. You trigger comfort, and comfort, without effort, kills desire. Here's what happens when you stop caring. Their world shifts. Their emotional rhythm gets disrupted. The pattern they relied on, your texts, your attention, your validation, it disappears, and suddenly something strange happens. They start wondering where your energy went. They start thinking about you more than they ever did when you were pouring everything into them, because now you're unpredictable, you're unavailable, you've detached, and detachment, that's not indifference, that's power. Let me be clear, stopping caring doesn't mean you shut down emotionally. It doesn't mean you become cold or bitter. It means you stop investing in someone who doesn't invest in you. It means you take all the energy you were giving to them and turn it inward on your growth, your glow-up, your peace, your path. And that shift, that internal rooting of your focus, it radiates. They feel it before you even post a thing. They feel it when you stop reaching out, when you stop reacting, when you stop trying to make them feel better while you're falling apart, and for the first time they begin to feel what it's like to lose your presence. Not your body, not your words, your presence, and that absence starts burning quietly, slowly, until one day they feel that pit in their stomach, the one that says, "I messed up." But don't misunderstand. They won't say it right away. In fact, they might get even colder. At first, they might act like they don't care. Why? Because they're testing you. They're used to being the center of your world. And now that you've pulled back, they're trying to figure out if it's real, if you really don't care anymore, if you've really moved on. And the more real your detachment is, the more they start to panic. Why? Because indifference means unpredictability. And unpredictability feels like loss. And people don't fear rejection. They fear irrelevance. That's what starts the chase. That's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to get them back, they start trying to get you back. They'll test the waters. They'll send a subtle message, maybe like a story, maybe comment on a post, something harmless, non-committal. Don't respond with emotion. Don't rush to reconnect. Let them swim in that uncertainty. Let them earn their way back into your peace, because you're not the same person they left. And here's the beautiful part of this paradox. You might not even want them anymore, because by the time they start chasing, you've built something stronger within yourself. You've felt what it's like to not care, and it's peaceful, it's quiet, it's free, And maybe for the first time you realize you're not chasing them because you're no longer the version of you who needed them. You've outgrown the story. You've healed from the illusion. And now you get to choose not based on fear, not based on history, but based on who you've become. Because the truth is, you never needed to chase love. You just needed to stop running from your own worth. And when you stop caring about being chosen, you start choosing yourself. And that, my friends, is when everything shifts. So if you've been caring too much, if you've been holding on, if you've been trying to fix it with effort, let this be your moment. Let go. Detach, feel the freedom that comes from not caring what they do next, and say this with me. Drop it in the comments right now. The less I care, the more I attract, because it's not a game, it's alignment, it's energy, it's self-respect, dressed as indifference. Let them come to you, let the silence whisper louder than your words ever could. And when they show up asking, "What happened to the old version of you?" just smile and tell them, "I stopped caring." That's what happened. Stay with me. The next step will test everything you've built, because when they reach out again, you're going to learn how to respond with calm control and unmatched emotional strength. That's when the real power kicks in. Number 7, when they reach out, don't break your power. Just because they knock doesn't mean you have to open the door and they will reach out. Not because you begged. Not because you explained. Not because you waited. But because your silence, your absence, your indifference became too loud to ignore. Their ego might pretend they don't care. Their stories might say they've moved on. But trust this, if your energy was real, if your presence was powerful, they felt the void, and now they're curious, or worse, scared that you don't want them anymore. But here's where most people destroy everything they've built. They break the silence too soon, they open the door too wide, they act like nothing happened. You see the name pop up on your phone, and suddenly the old feelings flood back in. You think, this is it. They realized they miss me. But hold up. This is not your moment to celebrate. This is your final test, because how you respond now will determine everything. Not for them, for you. You are not who you were when they left. You're not that emotionally dependent version holding on to scraps. You're not starving for closure or affection. You are rebuilt. You are evolved. You are watching, not chasing. So when they come back, and they will, you don't rush. You don't pour out your heart. You don't hand over your power, wrapped in excitement. You observe, calm, cool, controlled, because their return doesn't mean anything until their actions prove otherwise. They might send a "Hey" or "I was thinking about you," but unless they come with clarity, with accountability, with effort, you owe them nothing. That first message is a probe, not a promise. They're not sure you're really gone. They're fishing, and if you respond with too much energy, too much emotion, too much availability, they win the power back. They know you were waiting, and the cycle repeats. So don't give it to them. Not yet. Maybe not ever. If their return is real, they'll work for it. They'll show up. They'll try harder. And if not, that's your answer. You've already proven the most powerful thing you ever could. You don't need them. So let this be your rule. They come back on your terms, or they don't come back at all. Say it with me. Drop it in the comments. I don't open the door for weak energy. And if this entire journey has awakened something in you, if you feel stronger, clearer, more powerful than you've ever felt, then you already know you've won. You never needed their love to be worthy. You needed your silence to remember who you are. Now, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Remind them what real power sounds like, and remember this. Always they may come back, but by the time they do, you may not even want them anymore. That's victory.